Two title contenders, a promoted side who is soaring new heights, and a beehive headline a mammoth double game week. Speaking of mammoth, it should be another one of a kind on this week's FPL Addicts podcast. Good evening to you all. Welcome to the Game Week 25 edition of the FPL Addicts podcast of the 2023/24 season. And it's a bumper one indeed. There are so many talking points to deep dive in. Without further ado, I'm also tonight joined by the very own Sidenet and Peterson. Peterson, good evening to you. How excited are you for this game week? Mike.
Muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't realize.
Did you mute me?
I probably forgot to unmute you. Yeah, on that one. Pete, massive double game week coming up.
Huge double game. As I was saying, because you muted me. Pleasure to be joining you, Chazza, on this Friday night. I was joking that we're probably two of the only people in Melbourne not going to Taylor Swift tonight. But I would not rather spend another night with anyone else in the world other than you.
Geez, that's a bit stiff on Taylor Swift, don't you think?
Maybe.
Yeah, and you got the Cole Palmer shirt on the screen now. We'll certainly be talking about him with those two late assists. It was an important win for Chelsea, wasn't it?
Very important win. Wins are few and far between for Chelsea this season. And yeah, they left it late. They weren't that impressive. But as Bob Marley was singing the other night, don't worry about a thing. Everything's going to be all right.
That's certainly right. And I just want to say good evening. And yes, it's certainly not a great start. We missed Pete dropping a few bombs in there. I know, I love that one. Juan, good evening to you as well. We have got a lot to deep dive in. But before we go on to what our headline point is in being double game week 25, involving four sides having two games, it being Brentford, Luton, the reigning title champions in Manchester City, and Liverpool, let's reflect and see what we took out of game week 24. Peter, with your game week 24 outing, your 24th opportunity for your fantasy football side this season, how did you do?
Yeah, not too bad. I finished up with 82 points. But on top of that, I did have a 4-point hit because my co-host Andrew sent me into a bit of a frantic twizzy about a minute before the deadline, that he was messaging me that he'd seen news that Dubravka was out for Pope, and I was actually out on Saturday night. Couldn't really investigate the claims, and because my backup keeper is Matt Turner, I decided to take a 4-point hit with about 30 seconds to go before the deadline to get Kaminsky in. Turns out Dubravka was fine. Pope's nowhere near coming back, and yeah, I've had no luck with goalkeepers this season. So I thought, what's worse than just getting 1 point from my goalkeeper every week? I know, I'll take a -4 hit.
Oh, yeah, that is quite sour to say the least. But surely there wouldn't be too many sour ones as we look into your side. Who else was in your team?
Yep, so I also had Gabriel for that double-digit haul. He's just been on fire the last few weeks, so just a great asset to hold. Pedro Porro with the 2 points. I got in Alfie Doughty, so he seems to be flavour of the month. He's got, he needs to grow a mullet like yours, I reckon. I reckon it would suit him to a T. He was one of my 2 free transfers in. And then I also had our boy Cole Palmer over my shoulder there with the late double assist. Phil Foden with 3, Saka with 15, De Bruyne with 4 points. He picked up an assist. And yeah, Watkins 2 points. Darwin got a goal, which was nice. And like a lot of people in the game, I captained the Nordic Meat Shield himself for 26 juicy points. But I did bench 10 points from Pascal Gross.
Yeah, it's a Pascal Gross, quite an interesting one. But when you look at the side, did you have any consideration of fielding Gross? Because that's a very hard 7 to try and overcome, even to take at least one of them relegated to the bench.
Yeah. I did talk about this on our show the other night with the benching headaches leading into game week 24. And I think it was probably between Watkins and Gross, but Watkins was coming off, 4 attacking returns in game week 23. So he was the man in form. So I think he deserved to start. So yeah, it is what it is. Everyone has benching headaches this time of the season.
Has that been the biggest benching headache you've had so far this season, or has there been a lot worse?
No, that's the last few weeks. It's been a bit tricky just because I seem to be really flush in the top half of the field. So I've been having to leave out one person every week. A few weeks ago, I left off Solanke and he scored as well. So that sort of punished me a little bit. But yeah, I think we all seem to be a bit flush with cash with, when we're not all holding triple like massive premium players in our sides like we probably did earlier on in the season. So it's easier to have more depth in our squads, which just makes that benching headache a little bit harder.
Yeah, and I also feel the revolution of having the third striker slot now is incredibly important as opposed to a couple of seasons ago when Emmanuel Dennis stole the triple captain streets.
Yeah, we all remember that. We're all there for that. We got the t-shirts to prove it. But yeah, I've been rocking 3-4-3 most of this season, and it seems now we just
place.
Yeah, it's not a bad place to be, and it seems to be that's how the game shifted the last few game weeks. And there's just so many options at the moment, and it almost feels like 3 is not enough.
Has that been what's been your best finish from the season?
A few seasons ago, I finished 9K, and then the last couple. Yeah, last season was 18K. The season before that, I think, was 25 or 26.
That is remarkably consistent. Hey, guys, if you ever want some side net tips, is your one-stop shop right there. We go swiftly, no Taylor Swift pun intended, to our podcast league. So this is how game week 24 was. It was an interesting one. It feels like Christmas Eve to a massive Christmas Day when it comes to fantasy football in this landscape, because all the sides that were doubling this coming weekend had favourable fixtures in 24. We go over Ollie's team, and yeah, yikes with the Gabrielle 12 points. What's your brief take on this one?
Yeah, there's a few flags there. A little bit worried about, Robinson in defence there, Longley with the duck egg. But yeah, unfortunately it was a very tough week there for Ollie's side. But yeah, I mean he's got the triple city at least for the next game week, and Ivan Toney.
Not a bad option. It's just the timing of it.
Yeah, and on another week, probably most of that side does really good because he's a bit stiff. Alexander-Arnold coming off with an injury when it looked like he might tear that game apart against Burnley. So yeah, a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, by the looks of it, I think he's planning to go with game week 29, which we will get onto later, with free transfers instead of the free hit. And that's going to be a very interesting discussion in the coming weeks. We go to Rev's side, who ended on 60 points. Got the Cole Palmer points, which were important, like very late on. Diego Jota he had, Haaland captain, and Trippier assist. It's not too bad, but geez, that Areola 0-pointer, that's a juicy donut, isn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but I can't criticize anyone for goalkeeping howlers this season because I've only had one clean sheet the entire season, so I'm in no position to criticize.
In fairness, he was actually subbed on. And I do remember straight away as I saw this because Becker was out with an illness, a very mysterious illness to say the least, in Liverpool last minute before the previous deadline. 62 for Jack. It seems to be 60's only season on this pod and the members it has. Standout pick from this side, Pete. Which differential do you like here?
I do like Pedro Neto. From watching Wolves this season have been actually really fun to watch. And Neto, since he's returned, I don't know. He looks like one of those players that I think we're going to see next season. No disrespect to Wolves fans, but I think we'll probably see him playing at a big club very soon because he's just got. He reminds me a bit of like Kevin De Bruyne when he plays. He's got the vision, he's got the technique, maybe surround him with better players and he might just flourish even further.
What was a good get is Seneze.
Yeah.
With a goal, despite losing 3-1. It was sort of a pick when Bournemouth were somewhat popular and Solanke rose into form, especially after their win at Old Trafford in December.
Yeah.
A couple of managers found a way, and I don't think they were on the most amazing run thereafter, but it was a strong hold nonetheless. 8 points. It's pretty strong. And Stupinian, I think there's big question marks on Stupinian, who was looking as a New Year favourite, and he's just... Yeah, he's going down at the minute. Reedy. Now, I want to get to Reedy's, rightly so. 92 points. A fabulous game week. And I will say good morning to you as well. He's come at the right time.
Yeah, he's timed that well.
He has 92. It's quite outstanding. I really like a Darwin shout. Now, the quest to 100. Gross on the bench for 10. Alvarez, do you reckon there would have been a chance that he may have fielded Gross over Alvarez, or you'd probably back Alvarez in that certain situation still?
Yeah, I think I would have backed in the triple city there, especially because they were up against Everton at home. It seemed more of a favourable fixture. So yeah, I mean, I can't talk. I benched Pascal Gross as well, so I think he made the right decision there. It just unfortunately didn't work out the way Reedy anticipated. But yeah, 92. That's a bonkers score this game week. Well done, mate.
Awesome score, yeah. 161k game week rank, and it's quite obvious, Pete. And we saw it, especially throughout checking our live scores with the FPL Live Rank website. Arsenal assets with the biggest game changer this game week, 100%, and he nailed that to a T.
Yeah, and it's one of those game weeks where there would have been Saliba owners out there when he got that goal early going, yes, like the Saliba owners got one over Gabriel owners for once, because it seems Gabriel's just been wiping the floor with Saliba owners the last few game weeks, but then Gabriel ended up matching him. So on that perspective, if you're just a Saliba owner, you would have been hoping that was it, but favorably for Gabriel owners like myself, he managed to match what Saliba did as well.
Dude. Elliot Saidu also sits second at the moment with 56, and he was one that fielded Pascal Gross, and by the looks of it, benched Kevin De Bruyne at home to Everton, which actually was not a bad call by the end of it.
Yeah, maybe he saw that there was leaks just before the deadline that KDB was benched, so maybe he acted on that. But yeah, playing Pascal Gross was the good move. I mean, he did. It was the points came from a penalty, and he wasn't that involved in the game, but still, FPL is all about outcomes, isn't it? And you don't care how it comes; you just care about the result.
I've got a question for you before I go briefly onto my side. He's got no Haaland with 1.8 million in the bank. I'm not sure how many free transfers he does have, but how would you get him in?
Quickly looking at that, you'd swap Alvarez to Haaland. You've got money tied up in Alexander-Arnold there as well. So you could
he would have to go.
Drop him to someone else. And I don't know if that'll be enough funds
I don't think
get
so. He
you.
might have to take a hit for.
Yeah, might be. Yeah, it could be a hit there. So maybe just quickly looking at the side, maybe it's also probably dropping down Pedro Porro. I mean, he doesn't have a fixture in game week 26 anyway. There's rumors that he hasn't been featured in training yesterday. Hopefully we get some more clarification from Big Ange about Pedro Porro. So yeah, that's if he had to, it might be a -4 or -8 to get Haaland in. But yeah, it's a must-have this game week.
It is. I'm very interested to see what his moves are heading into 25. Now, my side, very briefly, and the big standout, it's not actually Haaland captain or anything else. It's that juicy donut in between the big sticks. 0 points, conceding 6. And I think briefly we really have to talk about Arsenal's performance. Not so much how I benched Gabriel, but this is tough because all of it, 7 attackers had really good fixtures, including Watkins. You probably wouldn't have benched Ollie Watkins coming off 18 points away at Sheffield United. Solanke had a really good fixture away at Fulham. Foden got a clean sheet point against Everton. De Bruyne off the bench with an assist. Diogo Jota and Palmer both delivered. That is hard. And then plus had Garnacho in front of him, who's away at Aston Villa, you'd favour the attacking player. So, yeah, it's big yikes. Alfie Doughty was such a letdown, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was disappointing. I think he registered like 8 or 9 big chances created in that game, and just nothing was converted. It was like one of the best performances this season. They just unfortunately did not put the ball in the net from his crosses.
And we want to go back to players because he's come as a surprise packet from a promoted side. But from your case, and it could also be a player that you've owned in certain times, who's been the player that has surprised you the most, or has been the greatest differential in your team?
Biggest differential in my team at one point this season, I'd started the season with Diogo Jota. Liverpool in pre-season were really interesting to watch, and Jota seemed to be the one that stood out. Many managers flocked to Salah and Nunez, but I started with Jota, and I think it was game week 2. He had a really good performance against Bournemouth. I think he got a goal and assist, Max Bones, and yeah, he was like 3% owned. So that was probably my best differential success of the season. The rest of it, it's been a bit tricky this season because like Palmer started as a massive differential when he first broke into the side, and now he's almost at 100% EO. It's crazy. Players don't stay differential for too long these days.
Onto the public league very quickly, and this has always been quite tight, to be fair. Stephen Smalley has now lost his spot after what was, a very sour game of 24 with 38 points. And now we've got a new leader in Obi-Wan Kenobi-Nil, creative name to say the least. Geordie Wilson, who has been, based on his track record, a very consistent manager from Australia. He got 80 points. A really good side, especially like the Darwin Núñez share. Again, Kevin De Bruyne benched. Big standout here from you, Pete, or was it just all really solid picks?
Yeah, that's a really solid side. I mean, it's Richarlison probably a little bit unlucky. He didn't get a return there, but yeah, definitely benching headaches.
Yeah. But player in terms of disappointment as well, have you owned one in particular in recent times? Because we know Doughty was a disappointment, but throughout the season, has there been a certain player that has disappointed the most?
Yeah, this one doesn't take much thought. Darwin Núñez. So I wildcarded game week 8.
He owns him too, which is quite intriguing.
Yeah, and I've owned Darwin Núñez since game week 8. I haven't been able to shake him. There was other injuries in my side during the season. I couldn't move him on, and then I'm thinking the fixtures are great, so I'm going to keep Darwin, and watching him just miss open chances and hit the post. There was that Chelsea, was it the Chelsea game? He hit the post like 4 times, missed a penalty. He's been probably the most frustrating player to own. He seems to be one of those players that it's almost better you don't watch him play. You just check the results afterwards, because watching him play could like really bring the stress on.
Núñez just seems to be a very interesting pick heading into double game week 25. But what we've learned, and we've seen through his style of play, despite missing so much, his confidence has enhanced big time. And I feel he's been a little more clinical with his chances despite the troubles compared to last season. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, look, probably statistically, he is probably much better than what he was last season, and he's getting more opportunities, that's for sure. But he seems to be very important in the way that Liverpool play. Like, even though he's not affecting the scoreboard, it's what he does that allows the other players, like, he might take on 2 defenders, and that leaves a bit of space out wide for Diogo Jota or, Luis Diaz to exploit. So, yeah, he does a lot of work that just goes unnoticed, but you want from those, to make him a really good FPL asset, you want him, scoring weekly. But yeah, I mean, he got a consolation goal. Take that, because we'll take the 6 points. But yeah, so frustrating.
Women's League now, and the gap has tightened recently. Jojo scoring 86 points. Now the gap's only 12 points. Hell's Angels has been sitting on top for a while. Melissa Laws was second, now dropped into third. I just want to go Jojo's side, 86 points. Really good. And it seems to be picks. Oh, geez, this is interesting. 16 points off the bench. Can I ask you, is there any merit behind benching Ruben Diaz at home to Everton over any of those defenders, in which Pyro was at home, Alexander Arnold was at home, got Gabriel, which is a good get?
Yeah, it's a little I will cut some slack there because Gabriel had the fixture against West Ham, got the goal and the clean sheet. Trent was on for a monster haul, I reckon, but he came off injured. So it was probably a choice between Ruben Diaz and Pedro Porro. And I mean, City don't necessarily keep clean sheets. So, and Ruben Diaz doesn't offer any attacking threat at all. So I think if there's a toss of a coin, I can understand it.
Be very interesting mini leagues to say the least in the coming weeks, and we've got a fair few comments we do need to catch up on. Now, I really like us and Tian, and thank you, team, for joining in. Love a cross collab between some Aussie content creators. It is good. I enjoy the chemistry. I think it helps a lot when we both talk about fantasy football a lot, but it's not just us as well. There's a massive a group chat for Australian fantasy managers too, which really helps there. Gary, good morning to you. 99 points.
99.
Fabulous. I'd
Wow.
love to hear a bit who was in your team. I presume Arsenal assets would have played a key role too. Yes, indeed. Karan, bench KDB last minute for Solanke, 4 points either way. Yep, that's actually not bad. Like, hey, you didn't win, you didn't lose, so you just neutralised the battle there. And it was a draw. Quentin, good evening to you as well. Colm, one of our favourites to join week on week. Good morning. And yes, hello there, Gary. Karan, you got to go shopping come tomorrow. I'm going to go to IKEA to buy the biggest possible sofa. Not owning Haaland this double game week, and you might need a couple of them because it seems, especially brewing within the community, especially on Twitter, now known as X, there's a lot of chips going to be played. I think. Have you hint maybe a chip activated on your side, Pete, or still not sure?
No, chips activated. So I activated the triple captaincy the other night. So we're ready to go.
Yes. Read it. You're very welcome. It was due, but considering most weeks you bet pretty much average. Ray Han, I like this question, and good evening or good morning to you. Big fan. Which two to buy from between Ake, Bradley, Van Dijk, and Reguilon? Pete.
Two. Well, I'd go with Nathan Ake first up. Yeah, so we know he's got the double, and it's probably the best double on paper out of all those teams. And he has a fixture in game week 26 as well. Now, we've been told by Pep that Vardiol is going to be out for about 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we've seen Ake constantly play out left fullback when Vardiol isn't there. And Ake, he has that sneaky goal threat too. Like quite often this season.
Last week.
Yeah, he's really good at set pieces. He's deceivingly tall. So yeah, I definitely lean towards Ake. Plus, he's not going to break your bank too, which is handy. Out of the others, I'd lean more towards VVD. He's probably out of all those, between him and Bradley and any other Liverpool defender, VVD is probably closest nailed for 180 minutes at least. So I would lean towards him. Plus, a bit like Nathan Ake, he's also Dutch and he's pretty good at set pieces. Can pick up the odd attacking return. He's gonna play every minute too.
Yeah, that's right. I agree with your top two. If I had to rank the other two, I'll go Reguilon third because he's at a price point where you're able to bench him, but you can also field him. And Brentford play in both 26 and 29. And Bradley, look, it's worth a punt, but I actually don't think he starts both games. I think Liverpool are going to rotate their squad in the lead up to the cup final. They will probably prioritise Connor Bradley for that cup final.
Yeah, I agree with you there too, Chaz. So, TAA has been ruled out for the cup final. So you have to work almost backwards from there. The cup final is obviously the biggest fixture. Then the second of their double game is against Luton, I believe. I may be wrong. No, yes, correct. It is against Luton. So that's only a few days before the cup final. So if there's going to be rotation for any Liverpool asset, I have a feeling it may be that fixture.
That's correct. Speaking of fixtures, you just delivered one of the most brilliant segues just to the next segment, it being the fixtures game week 25, starting on a Saturday and ending on Wednesday night their time, Thursday morning ours. Now, I've got a question for you, but I'm going to put a bit of a twist because I know we're all going to say doubles as the standout. So single game week wise, what is the fixture, or you could pick two out if you like, that stands out to you the most?
Yeah, Brighton, Sheffield United. So
Okay,
I benched.
that was not on my bingo card.
Yeah, I benched Pascal Gross's 10 points in game week 24. He's in my 11 for double game week 25, even though he doesn't have a double now. I was tempted maybe to move him or Cole Palmer onto someone else, but it would mean I'd either get rid of Pascal Gross with Brighton's fixtures looking fantastic in the short term, or benching him, which just does not make sense. On paper, Sheffield United is the best fixture on paper. So we've seen Brighton, when they get going, they can really cook. And, Matoma's back. Matoma looked fantastic against Spurs the other day. Unfortunately, he just didn't get the returns. But, yeah, more players coming back into action for Brighton. And, yeah, that's the fixture that's the team probably a lot of managers are overlooking because they've been stockpiling on these double game week players for 25.
Do you feel it's been such an incredible narrative that's been played out in the last couple of weeks? Because heading into, let's go as early as game week 21 and game week 23. I know the scout, and not sure who believes in the scout anyways. The teams that had the best fixtures run, Newcastle for a while and Brighton probably up until game week 28. Now this double game week build-up has completely overshadowed it. Yeah. And I also feel that some single gaming players, if they're called blind fixtures in these instances, they can really benefit incredibly well. Do you think the same?
Yeah, no, I do. Yeah, the doubles always skew everything, and there's never any guarantee that players will play both fixtures anyway. There's been so many fixtures for a lot of players. Especially the top clubs that European football's back. I mean, City were playing away at Copenhagen the other day.
Tuesday, now Saturday, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, they're used to playing quite regularly, but yeah, there is always going to be rotation, but you hope for your assets. They're not, but yeah, it's a bit hard. You hope for the best, maybe expect a little less.
I think the standout single game week fixture for me is Burnley versus Arsenal, because we have seriously seen, ever since the turn of a new year, Arsenal have just gone game busters with especially their goals from set pieces.
Yeah, they've been remarkable. I mean, they went away to, was it Dubai for a bit of a summer break. We saw Ben White working on his tan, the most tan man in world football, and they've come back supercharged from that trip. Got like back to the Arsenal that we were used to last season, where they just put teams to the sword. Declan Rice is playing like Zinedine Zidane at the moment. He looks incredible.
He's taking corners as well, which is a huge game changer.
Yeah, it is a real game changer, actually. So I was not expecting that this season, especially when Ødegaard's been so prominent from that type of delivery. But I remember, I think The Athletic were talking about Arsenal just being so clinical at set pieces and how much work they do to it. And apparently a lot of it revolves around Martin Ødegaard, with sort of, he drives a lot of the discussion in the team with what they're going to do a lot of the time. And it could be like the way he lifts up his sock just before they take a corner is a signal, and does something with his hair, or it's sort of like the baseball signals on the side.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's a sort of game where you'd probably want to field all possible Arsenal players that you own. Now, aren't injured, of course, because some may have Jesus or Zinchenko somehow. We've also seen a big turn in form from their very own talisman, Bukayo Saka. Goals in the last 3 games, and he is hurting managers that just don't own him. Yeah,
I think a lot of managers out there sort of lost a bit of patience with Saka because he wasn't getting the returns that FPL managers were expecting or hoping. The data was showing that Saka was as involved, if not more, this season than last season. Just the points weren't coming, but like you just said, the last few weeks, that's drastically changed. The returns are coming with the performances now, and there's a lot of people now thinking, oh, do I get Saka back into their side? But they might be handicapped in the fact that maybe they need to prioritize a double game week player or a player that's got a fixture in game week 26. But I've had Saka for a long time, and I wasn't at all like close to getting rid of him. You just have to watch the way Arsenal play, and he's just been a bit unlucky.
Yeah, I think he's also a transfer target after this double game week, potentially me to come in straight in back into the comments. Miriam, good morning to you. Thank you as always for tuning in to our podcast. We've got, so there's a few ones that have come in. Reedy fighting talk about Chaz, you're coming for me. We'll see about that. That's all. But Gary has got a good one here. Haaland has opened a chip shop. If you don't go triple captain the double game week like a fish supper, you may get battered. That is a cracker.
That is great.
That is fantastic. I will admit. Vahan with front. Now, I think it's worthy to talk about forwards now. It's got Haaland, Watkins, and Hoyland. First, I want to get your take on Hoyland as an option, but also your movements at the moment in regard to the potentially three strikers playing up front.
Yeah, I feel like three strikers is, really viable at the moment. Like we're talking about the options that we got, Haaland, Watkins, Hoyland. Solanke's fixtures improved drastically from game week 26 onwards. And, Pedro has been good as well. I mean, he has been in the starting lineup for a bit, but yeah, Hoyland, I know you've been big on Hoyland in our little chat groups that we've got. You've been building him up for a little while, and now
he's me.
Yeah, you were, weren't you?
Oh, mate, I was just getting mixed up with a musician, Sean Millis.
Oh, that's the dude with the gigantic head, isn't it?
Yeah, since he scored on Boxing Day, and in fairness, you're right. He's got his confidence, and Quentin mentioned this in one of his podcasts from last week. He's got the service now too.
Yeah, he does have the service. I mean, we shouldn't be all that surprised because, as Q calls him, like the Haaland from Wish, Hoyland.
That's a bit stiff on him now, I think.
Yeah, the other Scandinavian meat shield. He was getting the returns in the Champions League. Like he was scoring fairly regularly in European football. It just wasn't happening in the Premier League. But it seems that once he got that first goal, it's just the pressure's off his shoulders. He's back at it.
Unique Individuals podcast. Now, I will mention this guy's name's Jackson, and we just recently started a head-to-head league together. He slowly got involved, and he's slowly improving in rank. Evening, fellas. Pete, now this is to you. Is captaining Jota over Foden and Haaland a good option this week? I need to one-up.
Well, that is captaining Jota is extremely high risk, but extremely high reward. Now, I think Jota is probably the best of the available Liverpool assets that we have this triple game week. But like we just talked about, that League Cup final is hot on the shoulders of that Luton fixture. I can't see, and historically, Jota just doesn't play 90 minutes every single week anyway. He just physically, he can't. Klopp maybe doesn't trust his body. So I'd be more wary on the minutes there. I definitely prefer it with Foden or Haaland, especially with the City at home are just a different beast. They just put teams to the sword once they get going. Especially with those two. I mean, they're going to be coming up against my Chelsea, and honestly, they might absolutely smash them because, Chelsea are just shocking in defense. So it's ballsy, but I would definitely try and talk yourself into staying with the Nordic meat shield Haaland.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's already used his triple captain only, and I apologise, Jackson, for somewhat throwing you under the bus. He used it in game week 8 because he had no idea what was going on in the fantasy game. He's very new to it. He triple captain's son away at Luton.
Okay. Although on paper, it makes a bit of sense.
Yeah, it's not bad. It is not bad. Yeah.
It's one of those fixtures where that magic just happens.
Yeah, it can. Yeah, that's right. Spot on. Last question before we go to the transfer market and these transfers. I've got a bit to discuss on. Question for you guys. Taking a -4 to get Hoyland into my team, but with Liverpool having that double game week, do you reckon I'll take a -8 to get a Liverpool player? This is getting quite extreme.
Look, I don't think so. -8's a lot. So if you think about it,
it is.
Not taking a hit heading into game week 25 is actually going to be really beneficial. There's going to be so many hits flying around. And then take into consideration game week 26. Sure, you've taken that hit to get that Liverpool player in this week. When you get to game week 26, you're down an extra player. Now, chances are if you're taking a hit to get a Liverpool player, they're probably going to be a forward or a midfielder. So are you going to carry that blank fixture in game week 26? Or are you going to use one of your free transfers, or even more likely take another hit to remove that player? You have to think about it over the 2 game weeks does it work out? It probably doesn't.
I agree with you. I don't think it does either. I think it's just it just doesn't. Yeah,
there's a lot of double game week FOMO out there, and I totally get it because we're just so blinded by the double game weeks. We're just conditioned to it, especially over the last few seasons. You know, with all the COVID cancellations, and like last season was every week was either a team was doubling or a team was blanking. So we were just conditioned to every week get the players in those fixtures and remove the players from those fixtures. So this week's different. We're coming up to the first big one of the season, and we're getting all a little bit tied up with, you know, big, gigantic dreams of grandeur, but that might not be the case. It might be worthwhile thinking more about game week 26 because I honestly think there might be better gains in game week 26. If you can field a better 11 in game week 26, that might be a bit more beneficial to your rank than game week 25 because there's no rule that says you need to have X amount of players for double game week 25. But lots of managers will be taking numerous hits in game week 26 to try and get by.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's go to the transfer market and see how much of an influence that has on 26. Now, I know someone's going to mention the comments about the Arteta headline that we have to be in for Mbappe. This was not on my bingo card before the start of this episode, but that is actual genuine right now on the Fantasy Premier League website. However, let's focus on the transfers out and in. I'll start off with you, of course, Pete. The transfers out, are there any that surprise you?
No, not really. Like, Trent's injured. Solanke, he's got City this game week, and
he's got probably City next week. I mean, Newcastle.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's right. Newcastle and City. So he's probably getting flipped for like a Liverpool or City asset anyway. Watkins is a little bit stiff because, I mean, he's got Fulham, Forest, Luton, Tottenham all coming up, and he's got a fixture in game week 26 too. So that might be a transfer that bites managers back. Alvarez is probably one of those ones that's getting flipped for Haaland. So I get that one. And Bowen's just been frustrating the last few game weeks. West Ham in general have been frustrating.
They have been frustrating.
Yeah. How do you think, a lot of pressure on Moyes and West Ham. How do you think that's going to end up?
See, that's strange. I actually think I can bounce back as early as this weekend. So the Bowen one surprises me. Watkins certainly does. Solanke, it's half and half for me. I do understand why managers are doing it, but also people may forget that he scored a brace at home to Newcastle earlier in the season. I think that plays a big part because Newcastle being very poor defensively, and Solanke just loves to scramble and just get good poachers finishes as a goal scorer. I think that helps. So West Ham's fixtures, and they play in 29, which is of some help, and favourable run. Forest away, which could be the big spread board they need. Brentford at home, Everton away, Burnley at home, Aston Villa at home. I think that's not a bad run.
Yeah. He's one of those players that you could easily hold him for that stretch, but it might be a case where a lot of people have just been a bit frustrated just with the lack of return. So I can understand why he's sitting there, because if you've got a midfield that's flush with players and you're looking to flip one for a double game week, I can see while it's probably been Bowen. Yeah,
I think so too. The Ollie Watkins one is very intriguing right now. So he finally got a good ceiling score away at Sheffield United. And coming up, he's got Fulham, which I think he definitely got a return against. Forest, which they lost 2-0 at the City Ground early in the season, and they got Luton. So I think that's all games in which he can return, followed by Tottenham at home, and then West Ham in that major blank game week. I think team value would play a role. If you got him just recently, I could understand it. But if you've had him since the start of the season, it could end up to be a regretful move.
Yeah, and also looking ahead to that blank game week 26, when we're going to be starved of a lot of players. He's probably got one of the best fixtures on paper at home to Forest. So there's going to be a lot of managers making that Watkins out move this week and then getting to their side next week and going, oh, shivers. I think I need Watkins back in.
Straight into my favourite mini section, what we've learned during the week. Point number one, Man City having won 3-1 in their first leg of their Champions League last 16 game away against FC Copenhagen. Let's go to that game quickly before I get to the other points. So De Bruyne with a golden assist, Foden with a golden assist, Haaland didn't come away with anything. Does that hinder with your decision making in terms of armband association?
No, I watched that game the other morning, and Haaland was heavily involved, which is always a good sign. Unfortunately, he just didn't put the ball in the net. But I mean, the Copenhagen keeper was probably, you would say their best player of the game. He denied Haaland so many times. Haaland was hungry to score. Unfortunately, just didn't get the returns. But I don't think managers should read too much into scaring them off if they're still thinking of giving him the triple captaincy armband, because the chances have been created. He just unfortunately just didn't convert. But yeah, we've seen with Haaland before, he can bounce back and get a double easily the next game week.
In addition, the fallout from the injuries too, because there's injuries. I think Bernardo's got a flag, Grealish on is out, and so Vardiol, Ake that you just mentioned, in which his stock's been rose. With Grealish out, is Jeremy Doku maybe a potential gem in this?
Yeah, Doku's definitely an option. The only thing that concerns me as a Haaland owner is that Doku and him don't link up at all when they play. Doku's and it's obviously clear instructions that he's got from Pep, drive, cut in, and whenever he gets near the goals, he's taking a shot. But he doesn't seem to have that link-up play that Grealish has with Haaland. But we've barely seen that link-up this season anyway. But yeah, Doku, if there's managers out there maybe looking to get a third City option in midfield, yeah, Doku isn't a bad shout at all if you can't really stretch to like KDB or Foden.
Yeah, we saw what he's capable of. He's got a massive 21-point haul at home to Bournemouth back in November, and then he got injured all of a sudden. Yeah, but he could be a game changer. I probably wouldn't put any armband whatsoever on Doku because he's just too much of an unknown quantity. At the minute, I want to also get to the Alexander-Arnold injury, and I want you, from top of your head, name some top replacements within, because he's bound to be out, considering it was reported during the week he's out for the cup final. Yeah.
Now, if you don't have Triple City, I can see the attraction to get, we talked about earlier, Nathan Ake. So, yeah, he's probably more nailed. He's got really favourable double fixture. He's great at the set pieces, which we talked about. If you're looking at Liverpool, now I can see the attraction of Connor Bradley, which we talked about as well. But as we mentioned, whether he plays 180 minutes, we're not too sure. Like, he did look good in his cameos while Trent was out recently. Sadly missed, I think he missed the Chelsea game. Not the Chelsea game. There was the game week after he missed, sadly, because his father passed away. But that was probably led to Trent being rushed back into the side a little bit underdone, which is what they've admitted is the reason why he's out now. They probably didn't give him enough time to recover from the last injury. But I'd be worried that, it could be Joe Gomez playing one of those fixtures
he can do
out
that
wide. And I mean, he's only 4.1, so it's not too bad, but it does also chew up a third Liverpool spot in your side. That's tricky. So we saw Sergio Reguilon's name mentioned earlier. Now, Brentford, the only side to double the game week 25, have a fixture in game week 26 and a guaranteed fixture in game week 29. So I know on paper the double game week 25 is probably the worst you could have, playing City and Liverpool.
You'd probably have to field him anyways, wouldn't you?
You'd probably have to field him if you got him. But the main thing with that is after that game week 26, you got West Ham, then you got Chelsea. Arsenal's a little bit tough, but Burnley, United, Brighton. But he's back in the Premier League with Brentford. He didn't do much with Man United. I don't think he really got much of a chance though. Ten Hag didn't really.
It was good at Tottenham.
Yeah, very good at Tottenham. Unbelievable when he was playing for Sevilla. But we've seen now Brentford this season have been really poor, but I think we maybe need to put that to the side because they've only had Ivan Toney the last few weeks. We've seen Toney's back. Now, that side is programmed to get the ball to Ivan Toney. And Sergio Reguilon's game is all about running down the wing, getting the crosses in. So I don't see the defensive points there, but there could be attacking returns.
There could be too. You're not wrong. I mean, I'm not saying yes or no. It's all about a game of possibilities, especially in fantasy football. We want to speak about Brentford and how they're playing those important game weeks, especially game week 26. Now, I heard you also wanted to discuss about the ramifications behind double game week 25 in detail, but also what happens the week after, because it's not usual, especially in a season where we get many sides a few sides at double, and then a few sides to blank the following week.
Yeah, it's tricky. I think this is probably the start of like FPL now, this part of the season where engaged managers maybe start to climb up the ranks a little bit and start to get one over a lot of other just general FPL players out there, because we're probably more inclined to think more in detail about what we're doing now. A lot of people out there that are your standard log in on the Saturday night, make my transfer, pick my captain, and I don't look at my side again until the next deadline. They're probably looking at this game again. City's got a double, Liverpool's got a double. I'm going to have 3 from each. I'm going to get, 3 Luton players, and then I'll get to game week 26 and be like, oh crap, I only have like 4 players for the game week. So I think a little bit of reservation needs to be had with managers. Now, Triple City, by all means, go for it, because they're in form, they've got the fixtures, and they play in 26.
Yeah.
Liverpool's the issue now. We're heading into a double game week where Liverpool, on paper, have a great double game week, but with that League Cup fixture, there's a bit of an issue there where that 180 minutes is there. And then there's also no fixture in game week 26. So it's not really worth pushing the chips in, going all in, tripling up on Liverpool when it's going to cause you a bigger headache. And you're going to have to take points hits in the next week. It's going to cancel itself out. There's no point taking a hit this week to get a Liverpool defender that you want, only then to take that hit the following week because you're short of X amount of players in your silo. It makes redundant any point gains that you're getting at double game week 25.
Yeah, it does. It's more if you go for the higher ceiling this game week.
Yeah.
It's going to be correlated anyway.
It's all about balance. Basically, it's my whole big rant. It's all about trying to find the right balance.
That is correct. And as you said, aim for side that actually play next week too, and City really fitting in that category. Was that all in terms of what you wanted to discuss in detail? Or is there certain players that are sort of standing out in regard to your talking point that you want to elaborate on?
I mean, if we look at City, right? So if we all want Triple City for double game week 25, I've got Triple City for double game week 25. Who do you think would be the 3 best assets to have?
I think 1 Haaland, 2 Kevin De Bruyne, 3rd one, I'm going Phil Foden, but not by much now, because Doku I think will play, and Ake I think will get a bit of stocks coming his way.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, I think it's more the attacking end of the field. So Haaland 100%. KDB, Foden. So Foden, part of that double is they're playing Brentford. Now we saw Foden score a hat-trick against Brentford only 2 weeks ago. And Foden, since Christmas, has just been probably City's best player. I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. He was amazing against Copenhagen the other day. Just his vision of link up is just next level at the moment. And now that KDB's back too, there's someone else to bounce off with him. So he knows he can make the perfect pass, because the perfect player is going to be at the end of that. So I'm more attracted to, if you're going for it, Triple City attack. I heard the other day in the Copenhagen game, when they conceded that goal to Copenhagen, that it was the 13th time this season for Man City that they had actually conceded from the first shot at goal, which is concerning.
That is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's something we've probably become accustomed to watching Man City over the last probably 2 seasons. They'll cruise for like 70 minutes and then concede just a needless goal and put pressure on themselves. But most of the time they win. But from an FPL perspective, it's frustrating, because if you're investing in that City defense and they're just losing clean sheets at will, there's no real incentive to invest there.
Want to go to Liverpool very quickly. Would you say this is the same case for them, or probably best to go with 2 players instead, considering they've blank next week?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all team dependent and chip dependent. Now, there could be managers out there free hitting game week 26. So by all means, knock yourselves out, triple up on Liverpool for 25 because that could be a play there. But it might be more beneficial to keep those chips later in the season.
I think so too, because I'll be very intrigued to see those that are going for free hit 26. So they're going to load up and double game with 25, fair enough. I mean, they're free hits that sort of maximize the following week, which is fair. It's just more how you're going to navigate through 29.
Yeah.
And there's also double game week 34, which we won't talk a lot now because it's only up to 25. But that's going to have some teams blank, but also some sides to double.
Yeah.
Really funny one.
Yeah, I think that chip might be a bit more beneficial down the track, considering you can get by 26 with a decent side anyway. Like if you got triple City for 25 and you're free hitting in 26, well, if you're free hitting in 26, you want triple City anyway. So it sort of loses that bit of luster there. But yeah, I think the City decision, because we've seen Mo Salah, he's back in training now.
Let's talk about him actually quickly. Yeah.
I think we're very close to Mo breaking FPL again, where all we need is to see him play, and all these plans that we've all come up with over the last few game weeks, how we're managing, are probably going to get torn up because it just takes him to score a goal, and our brains are going to melt. How we get Mo back into our sides, and maybe that option is dropping KDB the next game week, like in 27 maybe. But it's a
funny
tricky
stat. And I did put it over to you not long ago this evening. So De Bruyne transfers in 105k. De Bruyne transfers out, despite playing 2 games, 103k. And we're still not sure if Salah is starting. All he's done is just gone gym, put foot on grass, and that's it.
Yeah, taking some photos outside the training ground with his fingers up.
Yeah, geez. There's some people that are good spies. I will admit, Salah, do you see him starting one of them?
Look, it's not out of the equation that he starts one of them, but I can't see him starting and playing both of them. Now that's the issue there, and then no game week 26 makes it a bit hard to do. So yeah, it's hard, and then they've got City in game week 28 too. So there's a blank. There's probably the toughest fixture on paper. I mean, in between that, there's a fixture against Forest, which would be great too. But
that is a good fixture for Liverpool. I did look at that. Yeah.
Overall, bigger picture, it's probably not worth the risk yet.
Luton assets. Who do we get in for that? Because we talked about it earlier on Alfie Doughty. Is there anyone else from that side that you somewhat considering, despite maybe already semi-locking your side in? Is there anyone that managers should consider from the Luton side outside of Doughty?
Okay, so there's going to be managers looking to free up funds in their side, and we talked about playing 3 up front, playing like a 3-4-3. Now, Adebayo for Luton has been very impressive for them this season, and he doesn't cost a lot of money. He's going to play. Also, Carlton Morris has been sneakily good. He's sort of changed the way he's been playing this season. So he's playing a little bit deeper. He's not playing as like the traditional centre forward that he was last season in the championship, but he's still just as important to that side. He's still on the penalties, which he's very good at as well. So they're really cheap. They're forward options in FPL. And so that might be what enables you to get like a player like KDB in this season as well, or this game week, I should say.
Ross Barkley, any temptation on him?
Ross the boss. Look, as a Chelsea fan, I'm a little bit scarred still from Ross Barkley's tenure when he was at Stamford Bridge, but we have a soft spot for Ross. Look, he's been good, but he's not super damaging. I think at most you might get an assist or a goal, and that's probably his ceiling. Then compare him to a player like, Foden, Cole Palmer, like their ceilings are quite high. You're talking about multiple attacking returns in a game, whereas Ross Barkley, maybe his ceiling is just 1.
There's that too. Better goalkeeper to own for the double game week out of Flecken and Kaminsky.
Yeah, look, I think maybe the Flecken might be better in the long term, but we know Luton might possibly also have a double coming up later down the track too.
Game week 28.
Yeah, possibly double game week 28 for them. So I suppose if you're going to make the move for a keeper, you get him in for this game week, even though it's a shocking double, he might still pick up some save points. All it takes is for Luton just to. Yeah, that's right. He did get the assist. Now, it just takes one jammy clean sheet, and he could absolutely rocket in the bonus points and save points as well, and it ends up being a master stroke. But yeah, it's a cheap option there, but I mean, it's a move I made for a hit last game week, so I can't talk managers out of getting him in when he's sitting in my side.
Let's talk chips. I think triple captain, is it probably the most, not most, but is it the best possible time to play it? Is there a better matchup somewhere down the track, or is now the right time?
Chips is always funny, right? Because, like, first of all, it's team dependent, but obviously you have to look at the whole game in general. Now, we're heading into a double game week where we know City has a double. Haaland is back. He's playing. He's in form. And City are absolutely cooking at the moment now.
2 home games.
And they're 2 home games. So sometimes it's just you have to take the best possible chance you have. Now, this is probably the best possible chance we're going to have of Haaland playing a double. Now, that's not to say they won't have another one further down the season, which they most likely will, because they'll reach FA Cup quarterfinals.
If they beat Brighton, yeah. So just on that, so I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Game week 34, so if that Brighton game goes in, they'll have Fulham away, then Brighton away. No, sorry, that's game week 37. Game week 34, it would be Spurs away, Brighton away. So you think of those potential doubles, and then you have this one. It looks good.
Yeah, and also looking at the bigger picture here, that they've already played their European fixture during the week, so they're coming into this with a clear slate. So I think it is the best option for triple captaincy. Now, we caught up at the pub a few weeks ago. I was pretty determined that heading into double game week 25, I was going to be bench boosting, because at the time I was looking at my benching headaches. I was looking at who I had, and now between then and now, I've sort of lost a few players with injuries, and bench boost isn't that effective for me because I'd have to take a -4, -8 just to make that work. So that's off the table. So triple captaincy, I mean, Haaland's EO is going to be over 200% anyway. So just captaining him isn't even going to be enough this game week.
Be a rank killer. Indeed. There's another good contender for triple captain. Dominic Solanke in game week 28 at home to Sheffield United and Luton. That sounds all right. It's just more consistency for him.
Yeah, it's because Bournemouth's returns have just dropped off slightly the last few game weeks. Like, they were so impressive, but that's just seemed to have slowed down a little bit. I don't know if it's teams working out the way Rayola's got his Bournemouth team playing. And yeah, Solanke's a great option, but you sort of need a lot of things to go right by the time you get to that game week. Now, if I was backing in Haaland in a double over Dominic Solanke, we've seen Haaland can score goals against anyone. So I'd lean more towards Haaland. The option's right here and now, so take it, because you might get to that double Bournemouth fixture and Solanke could be injured, could be suspended for one of the fixtures, and then suddenly you're thinking, when do I use this chip?
18 hours ago, 563,000 managers have already activated the triple captain chip for this game week.
Have you activated it?
Could you see that rise to 1 million come the deadline?
Yeah, I think so, because I think there's so many managers out there that'll just be logging in tomorrow, pre-deadline, and doing their side, and probably. I mean, it doesn't help that Scout and FPL, like, they sort of feed a lot of the information to a lot of just managers out there that aren't really engaged. They almost basically tell you what to do every week. So they're going to be seeing this information when they log in on their app that, everyone in the game's triple captaining Haaland, I'll just do that too this game week, and click, and then don't think about it. Whereas guys like you and me and many other engaged managers out there have probably been thinking in detail about all these moves and chips for so long.
Before we go to our usual plug of our sponsor in Bonus Bank, along with previewing our sides, there was a question, I think, on so triple captaining KDB. Is there a good case for putting a triple captaincy on an alternative?
Yeah, definitely. Like I would definitely lean towards triple captaining a City player. Like my only concern with KDB is the minutes. Now he played 90 against Copenhagen the other day.
Yeah.
Can you see him playing 180 minutes over the next 2 games? It's
not
a little bit risky.
120 at best. But when De Bruyne's on the field, it certainly helps Haaland. If it's just Doku, Foden helps him. Foden helps Haaland. But if it's Jeremy Doku and then you get your Rodgers and then whoever plays central midfield, you're a bit ick when you're watching that game and you want a big return as a triple captain manager.
Yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, high risk, high reward by all means.
Yeah.
We saw last season, like Haaland can do anything on his day, and he came off the bench in that Newcastle game, got the goal and assist and bonus, like in just a 20-minute cameo. So we know what he's capable of, but whether you're willing to go against the Nordic midfield, because you might have that combination, and like KDB might get a return or two, but if Haaland's getting even more returns than that, it's going to absolutely destroy your rank.
Yeah, indeed. Go off to Bonus Bank very quickly, which is our sponsor. It's a fantastic free tool to help FPL managers edge against their rivals in their mini leagues on a weekly basis. This tool displays the probabilities of clean sheets at each team and which player is likely to score. This is useful in determining the best defensive picks and consider assets likely to score this game week. Fortunately, sorry to say, we don't actually have the stats for this week. However, please do feel free to check them out. A great probability tool in helping managers out there. Now it's proper time to look at our teams, Pete. Double game week 25. Very curious to know how many doubles you've got. So whenever you're ready, feel free to just put it up in the waiting room, and then I'll load it up. But
okay.
Pete, while you're trying to do that, I want to discuss what your roadmap is for game week 29 as well.
Okay, well, while I try and work out how to actually get my side onto the live stream, just conveniently my keypad here has died, which is very handy while we do a live YouTube stream. But currently my side, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 doublers at the moment. So that includes I've got Kaminsky in goals.
Okay.
I've got Doughty as well in defense, which I don't really like having double loose in defense, even though they've got the doubles. That's not really that appealing. Then my midfielding, I've got Foden with the double. I've got De Bruyne, and then I've got the triple captaincy on Haaland. And I've had Darwin for most of this season, so he stays in my side. I mean, I'd love to have Jota, but it's just going to give me more headaches when I get to double game week 26. So I'm probably going to be just rocking the one Liverpool asset in 26.
Yeah, it's intriguing. What about single game week players you got in your side as well?
Yeah, single game weeks, like you mentioned before, the Arsenal Burnley fixture is one a lot of people are going to overlook. So Gabriel and Saka in my side, who are in a lot of sides as well. I'm really excited to have them. I talked before about Pascal Gross, so he's in my side this week. I'll be benching Cold, Palmer, and Watkins against Fulham. Like on paper, that's a great fixture for Aston Villa.
Yeah, so agree. Bench, so did you mention your bench?
Yeah, bench. I've got Cole Palmer. I've got Lamptey from Brighton.
Lamptey
sitting
from Brighton,
second.
okay.
Yeah, he's sitting second on my bench, and Dubravka against Bournemouth at home.
Okay, yeah, right. You got the TC on, and for me, I probably look like to be rolling in this instance in 6, similar to you. Ariola Dubravka one, that's probably a conundrum I'm still trying to sort out, along with Porro Garnacho, who stays on field. But for now, it's Virgil van Dijk, who I think is a shoe-in in terms of the more assured Liverpool starter in defence at the moment, along with Doughty. it was Garnacho in the field early in the week, but now we're seeing how dominant Arsenal are from an aerial point of view, especially from set pieces. Gabriel comes on field.
Yeah.
Foden, Jota. I've put the TC Vice on De Bruyne. Being somewhat tempted because it doesn't really matter how many minutes he gets. He's just very reliable to still return, nonetheless. Solanke, I like that Newcastle fixture away from home. Watkins, similar to you. And then Haaland with the chip. There, I am thinking of rolling or just go to this on one free transfer, 1.9 in the bank. Would you make a move? Or anyone that's still tuning in, and thank you very much if you're doing so, would you make a move with this side? Or is it best to roll?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sitting in a similar situation where I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with my free transfer. And like, is it actually just bonkers to be rolling a transfer heading into double game week 25? But that might be more beneficial to have two transfers in blank game week 26. Now looking at your side there, like you could argue that maybe you could flip Solanke to a doubler like in Ivan Toney, because Brentford's fixtures look pretty good.
Yes,
more so for Toney. Like Tony's just he seems almost fixture proof. He can score because he's got the penalties as well. He can score most games. I mean, you got triple city attack, which is great. You got Diogo Jota, which I believe is the best Liverpool option to have. Yeah, and you just probably end up giving yourself some benching headaches now.
Yeah, I think so. With the Solanke and Toney move here, it's a fair shout because I think Toney has a better fixture in 26. But once 27 comes around, that's where I want to go back to Solanke. And I just feel it could be a wasted transfer if you're going hokey cokey between because you want to save those in terms of whether you want to use the roadmap to free hit or just play the best possible fixtures and then worry about 29 as it comes and just play the chip.
Yeah, totally agree there. Like regarding Solanke with those fixtures. Yeah, like
26, similar to you, I think that's a lot more important.
Yeah, I've been looking at once we get into 26, like flipping Darwin Nunez back to getting Solanke back into my side. Because those fixtures just open right up for Bournemouth, and also with that potential double in 28 as well. So you'd want him back in, like you said, for then anyway. Villa's fixtures still look great, so you want to keep Watkins in that side. So I feel like you've got a really good mix there because you got double Liverpool. So maybe saving the transfer this game week might be more beneficial next game week.
Yeah,
that's really taking hits.
Yeah, I've actually got something that is on your screen now. You got a bit of FPL My Team now. If you guys haven't checked this website out, please do. Where we don't mind some planning transfers. So Pete, take it away in terms of your side for next week. And I like expected points too. I'm on about 106.3 with my current side, but all yours.
Yeah, as I talked through before. So I've got like six doublers there. So the double Luton defense, it's not exactly super exciting, but you got to play the fixtures and Pedro. With this side, the only concern is Pedro Porro. Now I need to
the same too because he wasn't in training yesterday.
Yeah, so we're hearing reports about him not possibly being in training now. Hopefully, Ange gives us a little bit more detail. He's usually a bit frank with that sort of stuff, but if he's not playing this week and then he doesn't have a fixture in 26, it's sell territory. I'd almost rather get in someone like Sergio Reguilon because I know he's got a double, and then it's not a problem for game week 26 and 29. Like I've got those fixtures covered, so. That's an issue there. Yeah, Pascal Grossi's 100% playing this week.
Big time.
Saka's 100% playing. Watkins playing, and then the doublers all speak for themselves. And triple captaincy on the meat shield.
26. I want to have a look at yours. So what's it like for the next game week? We'll just go through very quickly.
Yeah, so 26, a few blanks there. Now I can easily
defensive cover here too. Yeah, you go there, and then Lamptey would just go on for get the two defenders subbed in. It's not bad. You're playing with 10 before making a move.
Yeah, playing with 10 before making a move. Now Charlie Taylor is most likely going to be leaving my side. Now he might be back, but I don't really trust. I don't trust Burnley at all. So I'd rather flip that to someone more.
Keeping him for potential blank game week 29.
Yeah, I don't really like Burnley. What at most they might get 1 point, maybe 2.
Yeah, but the streets will be there. You have to understand that. Like managers, we'll be celebrating every point that comes our way.
True. Yeah, but
Yeah, okay, sure. No, I understand where you're getting at. However, Saka at home to Newcastle is a great pick as well.
yes. I mean,
Everyone
chances
has
aren't.
good fixtures except
Yeah,
Dubravka.
yeah, except for bro. Now, I'd most likely be flipping.
You go
Yeah,
doubles.
Darwin to Solanke for the long term because it's a good option there. And then it's
Yeah.
just deciding, who I get in for that second transfer and get 11 players out.
I presume. I know you're considering getting rid of Taylor. If you consider getting rid of Porro, I presume Palmer stays. Is it due to team value purposes?
Yeah, keeping Cole Palmer. He's just more from a personal perspective. Being a Chelsea fan,
Of course.
I always find it a bit more enjoyable when I watch
Yeah.
Chelsea play and they win, which doesn't happen a lot. But when Cole Palmer's on the end of the points, it just makes it's all about what you get out of FPL, and that's what I get out of it. I find it more enjoyable when I've got some skin in the game from that perspective. But yeah, he'll be staying in the squad for the short term anyway. But yeah, it's just that defense is worrying for 26 because I don't like relying on Lamptey. History says that he's not the most reliable of assets to hold. Yeah, but yeah, Porro could be one I flip.
Yeah. Right. Porro. Yeah,
Also
that
giving me more
is.
cash.
Yeah, it gives you more cash, which does help. It's a lot to think about, isn't it, Pete?
There is a lot to think about. That might be a
Usually
future
is.
Peter problem.
Yeah. I've got a couple of comments. Actually, just quickly on Alric. Bench Watkins or Gordon this week. Oh, my God.
Jeez,
Probably,
I'm trying to.
probably Gordon because of how expensive Ollie Watkins is.
Yeah, Watkins is expensive. Newcastle at home to Bournemouth though.
Gordon is so good at home.
Yeah, Gordon is just great at home, and we've seen this season that it takes a lot for him to miss a game. Now he might be
Outlied.
Yeah, he how always lies. So Gordon is starting unless he's actually on a hospital bed.
Yeah.
They're both great fixtures. Yeah, Watkins is playing Fulham. Look, at the end of the day, if it comes down to a decision, maybe go with the midfielder because they get more points for the goals, possible point for the clean sheet, and probably more involved from a bonus point perspective. Plus, like you said, Gordon at home this season, he just bangs all the time.
He does.
Yeah. No, I'll give my vote to Gordon.
Bench, yeah, Gordon. And look, you're spot on, Brady. He is an FPL legend. But Streets won't forget. It's a good point from Cole. Just as this comment popped up. No, Wilson or Isaac because Wilson's out for 9 to 12 weeks with another injury.
Yeah, which means Gordon's
Does
playing
that
a
help
bit more.
Gordon as a fantasy asset being centre forward instead of on the wing?
I don't necessarily think so because we've seen that earlier on in the season when Isaac and Wilson, who would just seem to be injured, those guys, it's like they take turns in being injured, and then a few weeks they'll just be like, "Hey, let's both be injured together so we can hang out in the physio room and just watch videos." Oh. Those guys are just so injury prone. Yeah, we saw Gordon play up front, and he wasn't as involved, but against Bournemouth, there's going to be opportunities there.
There will be. Yeah, it's bound to be indeed. Right. I reckon that would do it for Game Week because Game Week 25 has a lot about Game Week 26. I think Game Weeks thereafter, it's sort of a different phase as we head into a big crossover for playing Game Week 29, which will have huge ramifications on due course. Pete, as always, thanks so much for the planning of that team. Now, the those that do decide to just hang about for, I'm not sure if it would be the greatest segment of all time. I'll just go out there, be informative as possible. But it is Captain's Corner, and it is headlined by a lot of players who are playing 2 games this week. Start off, of course, Erling Haaland, who will be heavily favoured, more so with a triple captaincy chip too. And that number from 563k is only going to go up until the deadline. Most transferred in play at the moment, rightly so. scored a brace at home to Everton last week, so it shows he's got his goal-scoring form back. He got 16 points away at Chelsea this season too. And then as well, back-to-back home games, also playing Brentford midweek. Kevin De Bruyne, he got a goal and an assist midweek, as we mentioned, against Copenhagen. Came on as a substitute and assisted Haaland's second goal on the weekend. Since his return from injury, he's managed to get 2 goals and 6 assists from his 7 games across all competitions. However, when he does face Chelsea, it's not the most ideal opponent. He's only managed to score 5 goals along with an assist in his 13 appearances. And as Pete mentioned earlier, he's a minutes risk. I think the exciting shout, you could say, in some forms of aspects, Phil Foden in the middle. Got a hat-trick against Brentford. He's had 2 goals in his last... No, that's another stat. He's had the most points of any player in the last 6 game weeks with 51. 6 game week 17, he's played full 90 minutes in 6 of Manchester City's last 7 league games, which is really good to see in terms of his prospects on his ceiling for the coming double. Diogo Jota, the slotter, I love saying his name, I seriously do. Since game week 19, he is ranked second, only behind Phil Foden, having amassed 49 points since then, averaging 8 points per game and 1 blank in that time. This has consists of 5 goals and 3 assists. Luton have conceded 45 goals, which is the 3rd most in the league, and 26 of them coming on their road trips, which is also the 3rd worst in the league. Maybe a minute's risk with potentially Mo Salah featuring, which could also be in the second game. However, we've seen from time and time again, he's very clinical. That's why he's known as Jota the Slotter as he runs on the pitch. And for the Egyptian, he'll be running down the wing. That is it for Captain's Corner. You could say mildly amusing, but those are the 4 main options. Bukayo Saka is also a worthy shout away at Burnley. But if you want to go rogue, if you're sitting outside the million and want to finish inside the top million, go rogue. You've got absolutely nothing to lose until Haaland may bag a hatful of goals. Who knows? That will do it for tonight's episode. But before we go, Pete, is there anything that you'd like to plug? Because I have noticed that you do a podcast of your own.
Yeah, I'll give our show a shout. So for those listening and watching tonight, we have a show called FPL Signet. So it's myself, my co-host Andrew. We just have a fun look at the world of FPL every week. We go through our teams. We talk about the big topics of the week, and we do sort of a detailed preview of the game week. We have our differential of the week, and we go through our mini leagues and all the standard stuff. But we try and wedge in as many TV movie references that we can into the episode every week.
I will admit.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun with it. So a lot of dad jokes too.
Yeah. So audience, if you want to check out another slice of content and movie titles, let's say the least, I might have a captaincy as my niche. He's got movie references as his niche. Pete, that would do for tonight. And thank you for plugging in your podcast, because those community-based podcasts are incredibly important for the fantasy landscape. Thanks once again for appearing on our pod. It was an absolute pleasure to chat fantasy football with you.
No dramas, Chaz. Thanks again for having me on. Love the Addicts show. Long time listener, long time viewer. So you're always great to be in your presence, your aura.
That's all right. And to the audience, we'll be back for Blatant Game Week 26 this time come next week and go over what will be a mammoth double. And to all of you managers out there, may your arrows be green. All the best this weekend.